Browner. I am the program coordinator for our OneOp team, Lifespan Caregiving specifically. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session on learning to say no for work-life balance. In case you're joining us for the first time, I'd like to give you a brief tour of our webinar platform so you can find your way around. Hopefully you're currently able to view the slides that we're sharing. If you're unable to see them or if you have any other difficulties, please email us at contact@oneop.org for tech support. And I've went ahead and placed that in the chat, if you can see that chat. Already, we would welcome you to go ahead and use that chat throughout today's session for conversation and questions. To embed the chat pod so you don't miss any links or conversations, simply place your cursor over the shared slides. You'll then see a toolbar pop up across the bottom of your screen, and from there, just go ahead and click that chat bubble icon. And when typing any questions or comments, please be sure to select the Everyone from the Response Options drop-down menu so everyone's able to view the chat pod. And note that the slides and resources are available for download on the event page for today's session. We'll be covering continuing education information at the end of the webinar, so please stay tuned at the very end. If you are interested in receiving CE credits, we're offering several credits from different crediting associations, or just a general certificate of attendance. Stay tuned at the very end and I'll cover that. And as I've been seeing in the chat, there's lots of folks from all over Georgia, Delaware, Texas, those fellow Texans here in College Station. Let us know where you're joining us from. It makes this platform a little bit more personable, helps our presenter get to know who's on and where you're located as well. So continue typing that in the chat if you haven't done so already. We love to see the folks from all over. Finally, closed captioning is available for this webinar. You can turn on the subtitles via that Zoom toolbar. Also, thank you for joining us as we continue our partnership with the Department of Defense and the U.S. Department of Agriculture to expand the readiness, knowledge, and networks of the professionals supporting our military service members and their families. Please note the views expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They're not part of OneOp or DoD, so please keep that in mind. Also, I'd like at this time to briefly introduce our presenter for today. She is not new. Dr. Lakshmi Mahadevan is our presenter for today. If we could go back to her slide with more information on her. Dr. Mahadevan is an associate professor, extension mental health and well-being specialist at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. She's been with AgriLife Extension since 2006. In her role as a specialist, she offers valuable training and resources to individuals and communities in Texas, equipping them with the knowledge and skills needed to build resilience and manage stress. As a professional development provider with 18 years of experience, Dr. Mahadevan also focuses on universal design instruction and educational enrichment for all adult learners. At this time, I would like to go ahead and pass over the presenter that reigns to Dr. Mahadevan. If you want to refer to Dr. Mahadevan as Dr. M in the chat, if you have any questions, she has given us some permission to use Dr. M in the chat if you want to reference any questions or comments to her. Okay, so Dr. M, you can go ahead and take us away.
Wonderful. And I noticed that everybody's already responding to my question in the chat. My question in the chat is, and y'all can respond using chat as well, what would you gain if you managed your time well? Again, the question is, what would you gain if you managed your time well? The ability to stay present during time with my children, results, more peace, balance, time for me, productivity, self-confidence, stronger relationships, lots more rest, more time to do what I want to do in terms of activities. I like that calm, peace, balance, rest, peace of mind, more sleep. All right, people. So to do all these, get all these benefits, guess what you have to start doing is to start saying no. Okay, there are ways to say no without kind of like damaging yourself professionally, perhaps, but there are ways to start saying no. So I thank you all for being here today, saying yes to this presentation so you can all learn to say no. So I'm going to go ahead and advance my slide, and you all can let me know if it advances on your end or you'll see any technical difficulties. Practice like that, Mary. Very nice. So let's start thinking about how to say no, but particularly to maintain our work-life balance. I'm going to start by asking you to look over my objectives. I'm going to ask you all to think about when to say no. So you kind of do a self-check. And then we're going to just look at those benefits in addition to the ones you've already mentioned about saying no. And then work-life balance. How do we accomplish work-life balance when we say no? I'll also talk a little bit about preventing burnout and how to say no. And most importantly, dealing with the guilt of saying no. Okay. I also would ask you all to let me know if I'm speaking too fast or you want me to reiterate or review what I just said. And also, if the closed captioner would let me know if she wants me to slow down or repeat something so that it can be clearer in the closed captioning. Okay, so how do we know when to say no? So before we do that, I want you all to start putting in chat. Are you someone who replies to an email even if it is midnight? And please be honest, because I know you're all out there. No, lots of no's. Great news. Great news. Rachel, is better. There are some yeses. Thank you for those of you who said yes. It depends on the email. That's a good point. That's a good point. Priorities. Good. All right. Well, lots of no's. I appreciate you all doing that already. If I like the person, yes, Joshua, very nice. Oh, you might do a schedule send. I appreciate that. That was something I was going to suggest as a way to say no to that email. Oh, nice. Techie says, I don't even have my work email to alert on my personal phone. That is a great way to say no. Oh, good, Corey. You wouldn't see it until morning. Well done. All right. Okay. So those of you who said no, y'all can refrain from this next answer. But if those of you who said yes, are you the kind of person who maybe gets irritated when you don't get a response, even at midnight? No? Well, good. I have a tag in my signature. Oh, that went off too fast. Rachel, can you catch that comment about the tag in the signature? No, I'm asleep. Well done, Karen. I like that. Well done. Well done. All right.
Yeah,
Y'all are doing
we had a response. I have a tag in my signature. Are you receiving this email outside of normal working hours? Managing work and life responsibilities is unique for everyone. I've sent this message at a time that works for me. If you'd like to respond, please do so at a time that works for you. That's a great kind of
Oh, I
a
love that. Can we all
yeah.
get just borrow that from you? Who is the commenter, Rachel? Can we just copy and paste that into our signatures? We thank you. If it's an emergency, Marilyn, appreciate that. Yes. Yes, please. Good. All right. Well, you know what? I'm just going to now tell all of you that you'll are not part of my emailers anonymous. But some of you who said that you might respond at midnight, even depending on the email, but if you feel kind of compulsive to do so, or you get irritated if you don't get a response at midnight, I'm going to deem you a member of Emailers Anonymous. Most people here will not belong. So I thank that. And I thank you all for giving us those responses that allow you to really just teach us all how you'll manage this particular way to say no. So thank you for that. Definitely cannot get mad in my sleep. I like that more. Good. And yeah, I like that schedule send. That's probably newer with Outlook or with other email software where you can schedule what time you want to send the response. So even if you type it at a time that may be not so well received, you all can then just schedule it for the 8 a.m. the next morning. I've even noticed that it comes up as a suggestion. Would you like to send this during working hours? So yeah, I like that. We take that up. Well done. Thank you, Gwen, for that. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking now about when to say no. I want you to like kind of look at this graph that Rachel has beautifully prepared for me. I want you to start asking yourself, if I was to say no, how stressful would it feel? Okay, would I feel extra tense? Would I feel pressured? Would I feel stretched? Would I feel strained? Would I feel overwhelmed? Would I feel frazzled or would I feel shattered? So if I did not say no to during any of these situations, or during a situation, what would the result be to my mental health? And a lot of us, probably some of you are saying six. Yes, sometimes we have to say no if we feel like any of these would happen to us. Okay. If you feel like if you said yes to a certain situation or a certain activity or a certain commitment, and it's going to make us feel stretched or strained or pressured, like all of you said, or an eight, the strained, or you might feel frazzled and even shattered, then I want us all to refrain. Okay. I want us to think about saying no, and how to say no is what I'll teach you. But go ahead and gauge for ourselves. Okay. How bad will it make us feel if we said yes and then took upon ourselves this particular activity or situation? Okay. So if it makes you feel anywhere between a 6 and a 10 or 11, like some of you are stating, maybe a time to say no. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And feel free. I think Rachel said that these slides will be shared. So do go ahead and keep this as a reference for all of you as you think about when to say no. Okay. Check in with yourselves. If you feel like this is going to be the result, then definitely learn to say no during that time. All right. So let's talk about what those benefits are. In addition to the lot of things that you all beautifully mentioned earlier, getting some time, what you realize is saying no helps you not feel that kind of stretched or strain that we just mentioned. Okay, it helps you avoid taking on too many responsibilities at the same time. It really helps you conserve energy for those activities where you really need that extra energy. Institutional keeps me at constant seven. Joshua. Okay, it allows you conserve energy for more important or fulfilling activities. Also, when you have fewer obligations, you can concentrate better, okay, and get that task done to even our own perfectionism standards. Okay, so remember, when you have fewer tasks to focus on, you can have very high perfectionist standards and meet those standards. Okay, turning down some of these extra commitments really does help you allocate those times that you all were saying earlier, perhaps to sleep, perhaps to have hobbies, perhaps to my children, self-care, rest. Those kinds of things will happen only when you can turn down those extra commitments. Okay. Also, setting boundaries actually reinforces self-respect. Okay, it tells me now this is my tolerance level. I will not go beyond this tolerance level, or these are my boundaries, and it allows us to build respect for ourselves, be kinder to ourselves, build our own confidence, and reduce stress overall. Okay, and those individuals who are on the receiving end of your no will also be able to build a relationship with you that is honest, respectful, and also overall reduces conflict and stress between the two of you. Avoiding that overcommitment definitely helps us be more thoughtful. It gives us a lot more um, space in our minds to allocate the amount of thought we need to make sure that that product or whatever we are working on is as well as it can be. And if we need to, like, for example, tweak it, adjust it, um, change things out, do some other kinds of perhaps edits, revisions, whatever required, we have time to do all of that so it becomes the best product it can be. Okay. Also, it builds assertiveness. A lot of us probably come from backgrounds where we are not typically assertive or not allowed to be assertive or appear that we are not able to stand up for ourselves. So being someone who's able to say no builds assertiveness within us and helps us advocate for ourselves and overall reduce the stress that comes from being pressured to say no to something that isn't within our self-efficacy. We don't feel self-efficacious to do something, but we say yes anyway, and then that lowers our confidence. Okay, so given all those benefits, let's talk about how we can say no, but we're going to talk specifically about promoting work-life balance when we say no and how we prevent burnout. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far that I missed, Rachel, in the chat or anything? Please let me know. Otherwise, we will continue on. All right. Doesn't look like there are any questions. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about how we can manage our work-life balance by saying no. We have to politely refuse. Okay. How do we politely refuse? I'll give you some ideas and we'll give some dialogue as well. But we want to politely refuse those extra projects. So maintaining our current commitments and the amount of time we spend on those commitments can get very, very frayed and distributed because we are not able to work on what is currently our priority because we've given so many other tasks to ourselves. Also, it really firmly stating those limits. I love the ones you all talked about here already, in how you all state those limits. I love that signature line that we heard earlier. I also want you to decline those last minute requests, okay, to honor those personal commitments. Absolutely important. Hey, can you give me something by 8 a.m. tomorrow? No, I am actually, my weekend has already started, or no, I have another commitment that's familial or some other event that you are planning to attend that is outside of work. Also, streamline those meetings to protect personal and family time. I know we all deal with this where individuals speak to the extent to which a 1 hour meeting can go to 2 hours. Be strict about adhering to your timelines. If you're the presenter, then you be strict as well about adhering to a timeline. But also, if you're going to allocate only, say, 10 minutes for questions, then only stay within those 10 minutes. Always provide your contact information, perhaps, and say we can address further questions later. You can also maintain a virtual parking lot so questions can be asked there and revisited at another time. So do not really just model timekeeping so that everybody else follows that as well. And so they can expect you to stay within the allocated amount of time, and then they will be expected to do the same. Also, delegate or go virtual. We have actually really improved in technology to the point where we can join a Zoom meeting from our phone, perhaps, or we can go virtual instead of having to spend the time going to a place, particularly if you live in Texas or something like that, where we do a lot of driving time. That may take away from the quality of the work we do, or perhaps just really eat into our self care time or family time because the commuting takes that long. So think about it. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. So I'm going to go mute for a second. Okay, thank you. Delegate or go virtual if travel disrupts. How many people do Zoom meetings and other work? How many people do Zoom meetings and other work simultaneously? Ah, Amy says guilty. Good question. Good question. And I don't know that we can not do some things where we do Zoom meetings at the same time. Yeah, guilty for sure sometimes, guilty. But it like again, like you said earlier, it depends on what's going on in the Zoom meetings. If our job is to be present and ask and maybe take some notes, great. If we are able to miss some parts of the Zoom, okay. Is it professional to decline the last minute request even if you don't have personal commitments? But yes, yes, Adrian, absolutely. That's what here I'm reminding you about. Self-care is a priority. There's nothing wrong with the priorities, prioritizing yourself. So you can be your best. So next time a request comes in, you are going to be the best you can be in that particular situation. But if you kept taking on last minute requests, even you might feel that you're not giving it your best because the self-care time was not able to be addressed. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Um, Morgan, good question. Everybody thinks their emails are urgent. Nobody asks you're free. Are there any tips for the commute time in CA? Oh, yes, absolutely, Jane. I ask us to not use our commute time to further mull over, fret over our work. Perhaps I love Joshua's podcast. Maybe you can even listen to a time management podcast or revisit this. I know this Zoom call is being recorded, so y'all can come back to this session to get back those tips, or just do me time. I like singing out loud. I can. I enjoy that very much. So I enjoy that no matter, nobody can hear me anyway. It works great. Audible, Rachel suggested. Yeah, get all your reading time in through Audible as well, or some other audio readable books. So good. Yeah, please use it. Yeah, personal phone calls. Good job there, Adrian. Things like that. Okay, use that time effectively. I also have heard my brother, when he sits in traffic, he calls me. So our time is usually in traffic. So yeah, family time could be put in there as well. Blocking out focus time. Yes, I put it on your calendar. Call it self-care. Call it something specific. I already have something on my calendar. Absolutely. It's not visible to anybody else in your office. You can absolutely put self-care, me time, however you want to call it. Shannon, good job. Thank you. Stay safe driving, everybody. Hands-free driving. for sure is very helpful as well. All right. Oops, excuse me. I think I went too quick. Um, when you are talking about, there we go. Um, when we are talking about what we need to do further to maintain work-life balance, we want to evaluate our priorities. Okay, definitely look at what you might need to do, say, to get a promotion or to have a priority because of deadlines, those kinds of things. That's where you want to evaluate what's more important, and then turn down the things that might take away from those deadlines. Okay, so be careful about making sure you know what your priorities are and then only do those tasks as needed. Also, know your capacity. Okay, and when you have reached it. When you feel like, okay, we've done a presentation in the past. I think it's called refueling. Is that right, Rachel? Where we talked about how you need to refuel with self-care to build back your resilience. And it is very important to know your capacity and when you're about to reach it or your fuel gauge is running out, because at that moment in time, like what Adrian said earlier, is yeah, you don't commit to that particular thing because you want to self-care. Okay, also ensure everybody understands your boundaries. This includes family and friends as well. Okay, and colleagues. It's very important that everybody gets it. And then if you have a time set to, and stick to it for work and personal activities. I liked somebody's comment here. Oh, have a meal, go do meetups or workout class. Adrian has some ways of managing that commute. So if you'll read that in the chat, that's a great suggestion as well. I want you all to really ensure that when you have a certain thing done allocate a certain amount of time. If say it's a meeting that can be done in 30 minutes, then stick to those 30 minutes. Okay, allocate only 30 minutes. Those kinds of things. And all our calendars now, I notice that we can even do 15-minute meetings. So it's really ways in which you all can set and stick to those specific times. The more you can do that, the more better you will feel about accomplishing what you need to accomplish in a shorter amount of time, and then having the time to do further follow-ups, etc. would bear that'll come in versus doing a long meeting where nothing gets accomplished. Okay. All right. Focus on the essential tasks first. Delegate or postpone those others. Schedule those regular breaks, kind of like what Adrian was talking about. Have a meal, take a beverage break, and then align decisions with your goals, specifically to make sure that your tasks that you have contribute to your long-term goals, okay, and values. Particularly, sometimes it might be that you're doing something just because you have a technical skill that suits, but it's got nothing to do with your current job. So you might be like, well, no, I won't do it because it's really not going to help me in my productivity. Not just out of the goodness of your heart, are you helping someone? Okay, so if you have time and you want to build those relationships, absolutely. But do not do it because you were just wanting to do that. Instead, do it if it serves your purpose, then go ahead and, yes, work smarter, Corey, not harder. Also, reevaluate regularly. Go ahead and check in with yourself and say, all right, am I doing what I need to do? Am I giving my best to these commitments? Am I saying no to the correct things? Am I ensuring that they are aligned with my priorities? Okay. All right. Okay. How do we say no? Anyone else feel like the increase of lunch and learns are just a secret way? Anybody want to answer Joshua's question? Um, Joshua's question is just a sneaky way, those lunch and learns, to get more work out of people during break time. Okay, how to say no? Nice. Okay, that's a good idea. You do lunch later then, and get your me time then. Just don't do learn, but don't do lunch. Perhaps still take your lunch time afterwards. I like that. Well done. All right, how do we say no? State it clearly. Okay, there's no hemming and hawing about this. Absolutely say no clearly without beating around the bush. Tell them why you cannot fulfill the request and be honest about it, but help that person understand what limitations and constraints you have, and also communicate that inability to take on more tasks directly and honestly and without guilt. And I will talk about dealing with the guilt. It'll come anyway. In many cases, we'll be able to prevent it, though, if we learn how to say no in a way that's in real time guilt free. And I'll tell you how to do that. But absolutely, just communicate your inability to take on that task directly and honestly. Okay, how do we do that? State it from your perspective. I like that. I don't have the capacity. You can say something like, I feel overwhelmed and need time to myself. Okay. Yes, Janelle says saying no can be a full sentence. But also, I ask you to practice, start saying no to smaller requests, and gradually handle more challenging situations. So, for example, when we go back to that lunch and learn example, yeah, I mean, you can say it's a lunch and learn. I'm not really going to learn anything. It's not going to help me with my priorities. So I'll say no to that. Okay. Mandatory, it's not mandatory training. And so I say no to that. It's a smaller request that doesn't really impact anything larger as far as your work priorities go. Um, One of the things, Asha says there are times when saying no is a complete response. What if your boss tells you that you should be able to prioritize your time better to be able to assist with the task? Well, I really don't want us to get into like defying anybody, particularly when it comes to job security. So, yes, I would say that well, just ask them, okay, how should what are the areas of that you would like me to concentrate on? So when they say prioritize, ask for an operational definition of what that means. Okay, so, okay, when you're asking me to prioritize my time better, where would you ask me to allocate it? I humbly decline. I love that, Janet. But how do we allocate it in a way that you feel I'm meeting those needs? Does that make sense? I don't know what your first name is, but does that make sense what I'm asking? Ask them to operationally define what they mean. Okay, give examples. That way we're not doing something that still doesn't meet what they're asking us to do. Okay. So for example, they say, all right, I want you to prioritize your time so you can help with this task. Okay, well, what do you need me to do? Help build the PowerPoint, help with the presentation on the technology on that day, help with adding some content to it. How do you want me to prioritize aspects of that task? That's what we need, not just a general priority to the task without knowing exactly where we are giving our time to. Yeah, we can ask, especially if I don't get an entire day off for it. I work an hour away. Yeah. Focus on what you were tasked with, what is more important to the person requesting. Yeah. Yeah. I like that answer, Amy. So I hope that helps. Um, Let them help you prioritize, Don. Exactly, exactly, and in a way that keeps you safe from, uh, offending someone, perhaps. I like that. Let me take the next class because I have some events planned. I'm able to do dash, but not dash. I like that. I respectfully decline. I'm able to do lunch, but not learn. I'm able to do learn and not lunch. Joshua. They kept dumping more and more. Yeah, creating that toxic workplace. So I listed 12 items that were all high priority and asked them to help me. I was told, interesting, Christina. Absolutely. I think you might have to sort of gauge the temperature of your responses. How is it received? I appreciate that you did feel that you were being dumped on. Sometimes you don't even realize when that's happening. So yeah, listing items as high priority, asking for input, and if it was that well received, you were trying your best. And yeah, I do appreciate the idea though very much. So yeah, choosing to leave was very resilient of you. I feel I'm at full capacity, Rebecca says. Yeah, so that I know what's most important. Excellent. All of you, listen, just read your chats. You all are already having all these great ideas. So, but I will ask you to think of some other ways to like perhaps delay. You could, so that in the moment you're not saying something that might offend or maybe put your sort of job priorities in jeopardy. So you could say, let me check my schedule and get back to you. So you can delay, give yourself some time to consider without immediate pressure. Okay. And then how to say no. Be very clear, like you all said earlier, I can do this but not this. Okay. And really, like you all said, I respectfully decline. I appreciate the opportunity but I cannot commit right now. And I like this, and this might help alleviate some of your stress and guilt, is have a alternative suggestion. Hey, I may not be able to help you with this right now, but I know Rachel can. And then, get Rachel's permission to give her name out for the future, that kind of thing. Okay. Yes, Amy, well done. Gauging the temperature of the person who's asking, I think, is important because they may be at 11 themselves on the stress scale. Well done, Amy. Very good. I also ask you all to think about something called mirror neurons. It has been shown that when we are stressed, the person opposite us really feels and receives the same amount of stress, and we kind of mirror each other's nervousness, perhaps. So I like that, Amy. So if you look stressed by their question, then they'll get stressed by seeing your stress as well. So it might build to up to 11, like Amy suggests. I want us to, that's why, be very calm. Go ahead and maybe take a couple of breaths, help the other person take a breath or two. I like to use a um, four inhale breath, a count of four, exhale to a count of eight, hold a couple of seconds in between. That will help both of us calm down. Just really help understand that we are all stressed right now, and let's just all calm down and rethink this process without demanding things from each other that cannot be met in this moment. So well done. Very well done. Also, like Amy just said, acknowledge their emotions while still prioritizing your own well being. Okay, do not take on guilt for the stress they may be feeling. Do not be concerned by how emotional they may get, because at this point in time, you are not going to be at your best anyway. So if you cannot help them or you have to say no, that's going to make it worse for them anyway. So what we could do is calm them down in that moment by speaking politely, declining politely, and then letting them know and understanding that their disappointment is going to be perhaps a normal reaction. And how do we all make sure that we're all back on the same page? But do stand by your decision to reinforce and maintain those boundaries, and practice saying no so you can build confidence and prepare for real situations. So I like you all to just, think about like stating no politely in the mirror, doing a lot of the things you all already said. Just practice saying it out loud to a friend and say, hey, I have to say no to someone. Can I practice with you? Rachel and I do that all the time. We talk to each other and ask us, I'm going to about to say this. Can you help me make sure I say it in a way that I don't know, won't get me fired. So practice saying no and use a friendly person who can give you an opinion that allows you to say, yes, that was polite. Yes, I will. I think that would be very helpful if you say it this way. That didn't sound as polite, so maybe we can refrain from saying this, or maybe we can emphasize on this, or come with the solution first and then decline and say, please, can I look forward to another opportunity? Lovely, Maria. Think before you speak. Take a breath before we speak. That hold, 8 breath would be very helpful before we speak, and practice even that. So well done. All right. Okay. How do we actually say it out loud? Okay. Um, Rachel, do you mind reading a couple of these for me?
I can. I'll read the first statement. I appreciate you thinking of me for this project. Unfortunately, I have prior commitments that prevent me from taking this on right now.
All right. I don't have this answer for you, Nikki. Mickey has a very good question. Does anybody else have an answer for her? Rachel, maybe do you know? Does research show that women are more likely to give reasons for what they can't do something versus men tend to just say no? You know what? It reminds me of when I had to when I ask a question in a presentation, I always start by saying sorry. I have the right to ask a question, so why do we apologize? It sounds like, yeah, I don't know, maybe there is a tendency for women, perhaps, or at least me, to give more excuses than is warranted. No, that's true. That's a good point. You don't want to suggest another coworker, but you could just talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I ask you to get permission before. That's why you might delay and say, let me check my schedule, or let me check and see what I can do, and then go check with the coworker and ask them. And if they say no, absolutely, then you do not have to. But that's a great point. Is it Marceo? I hope I'm saying your name right. Yeah, Charlotte, I've reframed sorry to thank you for. Huh. If maybe it's cultural, that's a good point. Tending to be Midwest nice, and it's nice to its tendency is to apologize, minimize, or reduce ourselves. Yeah, Christina says that's been my experience. I say sorry too. Christina Kersey said. I think yes, because of social norms. Okay, Amy, thank you for that response. In the workplace for men versus women. Yeah, yeah, Asha, thank you. She says there have been numerous psychological studies that show women are frequently apt to give an explanation. I like that. Instead of sorry for being late, thank you for being patient. That's a good one. Look at y'all. I hope y'all are making note of all these beautiful responses in chat. I hope you're learning from yourselves more than learning from me today. I do that too. Sorry, but I have a question. Yeah, Jane, we tend to do that. I know. We're socialized to be more accommodating. Yes, we're superwoman as a descriptor. That's why we're here today, Dawn, right? To just being less super. I try not to apologize. No, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, Amy. Because what are we defensive about? There's no reason to get defensive. We have the right to ask a question or say no. So try not to apologize because the moment you apologize, then they feel like they can continue to impose on you. Okay, so do not do that. Stand your ground as we speak. No need to be sorry for having a prior commitment. Gwen, absolutely correct. All right, Rachel, can you do another one for me, please?
Yes, I'll do the second statement. Thank you for the offer, but I won't be able to participate. I suggest reaching out to Dr. M, who might be available.
So I like that a little bit better who might be available, or you could even say something like, when I historically I remember they were able to really help with a project that was similar. Maybe you can approach them and then please let me know what they say, and then we can come up with further solutions. That could be another way to think about it as well, because you could know enough about your colleagues' level of expertise so that it would be appropriate to suggest them for that fit, perhaps. I think in a work context, a rationale when declining is reasonable to be offered or be asked. Otherwise, the supervisor would conclude negative reasons. Yes, absolutely. Apology is not needed. I like that. My therapist taught me anyone may ask the question, but that does not mean that I have to answer that question. Asha, I love it. At the same time, men may be expected to prioritize work versus home. Yeah, this kind of that stereotype of, okay, she has an excuse because she's a parent and he has to work because he's more than a parent. He's our employee. So yeah, I understand that. So at least understanding that these all exist. Today we might have to learn a newer skill that fits in better. And something like this, saying these out loud may be much more helpful because it may be a newer skill than our reflex to apologize or our reflex um, to go ahead and say yes to something that we really cannot commit to. Yes, we struggle with cultural expectations all too often. All right, here's my last one. I completely understand. This is where that empathy factor comes in. We really want to understand that other people, that other individuals' emotions, stressors. Yeah, it is important to them, absolutely. Here's what I'm currently focused on. Would it be possible to revisit this at a later date when I can give it the attention it deserves? Okay, so give them that feeling that yes, you consider it just as important as it is to them, and I would rather give it full attention. I cannot right now. Will it be okay? All right. um Something about note takers in here, Rachel. Not sure what that
Yeah, I think we
means.
can ignore that one.
Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Those three ways. As everybody feel like that could be a way to speak about certain ways to say no? Does that make sense? Why we are specifically thinking about empathy and making sure that you are able to get permission from someone who might be available or maybe based on their skill set. Very nice. Valencia, you like 1 and 3. Very well. Very well. And always say things like, I can't take it right now. Don't give it like a definite no. Sometimes that might be very helpful as well. Good. Thank you. Now, I'm honored that you considered me for this. Very, very helpful sometimes, especially if they're asking us to think about it from a like an expertise and they're giving us our sort of our recognition for our technical expertise. But I'm at capacity right now and won't be able to contribute effectively. I wish you the best with it, and it sounds like a great initiative. Okay. So that would be a great way to let them know that you're very grateful. And yes, please keep it in mind that I may be able to help you in the future. And I'm honored that you thought of me. Okay. I've made a commitment to not take on new projects this month. That would be a great way to say it, like a timeline. Remember, we all talked about like specific timelines. Maybe we can do the same thing. For example, May right now is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm pretty stretched in my job right now, correct? And I should not be taking on much more than I already committed to because it is essentially one of those months for me where I should be really practicing priorities, correct? So yes, so the month of May, no, but I can give you some dates in June. I can think about revisiting this in July. That would be very helpful. Okay. Or right now isn't a good time for me to take this on. but keep me in mind for future opportunities. I'd like to collaborate. Remember, the word collaborate is very helpful. So the teamwork aspect is brought back in when the timing is working out better. And you may want to add so that I can give you the best I want to this project. I know. I'm sorry, Joshua. That is correct. But I really just want us to also think about, areas where because part of this issue is stressful to us too. So so that we don't end up having more stress in this transaction of saying no. So this isn't so much about assuaging the other person as much as making it less stressful for us, for the repercussions that might come from this. Okay. Dawn says much kinder replies than you made it on a whim in the past. I hope that makes sense, Joshua. I love your point. Yes, absolutely. It does feel like we are assuaging the institutional powers that be. But I want you to remember that this is stressful for us. It's not just about, caring about how somebody else thinks or how they might be, we may be placating someone. But what we have to think about is it's difficult for us to say no and go through this. And so I want us to manage our own stress better too, because also we have to deal with the guilt of it sometimes. Okay. We have limited time. There is at least how many 6 hours in the day when we want to really sleep, 18 hours a day. We have limited time and energy and prioritize our well being. Okay. We have to self care to give care. Okay. So consider saying no as an act of self care. It's not selfish. Exactly, Tasha. Who would care about us if we didn't for ourselves? So have to be kind to ourselves. We have to recognize that setting those boundaries is acceptable and doing it in a way that's polite and less stressful for us is also acceptable. That overall, that reduced stress and increased focus to transform feelings of guilt is actually empowering. Okay, it is much more empowering. We might start feeling like a superwoman again or a superman because we have been able to do what we want to do really well and done it to our best without being caught up in all these different types of sort of juggling those different types of tasks and not being able to do any of them really well. Okay. So focusing on the benefits of reducing the stress of having only one or two to juggle is really helpful. And then analyzing, why do I feel guilty? Why do I have to, go through this kind of process afterwards? Where do they come from? And a lot of us want to just meet certain standards. Sometimes those standards are just within our own mind, and so we might feel guilty about meeting our own standards, or you are kind of you're committed to the project, you understand the mission, you have a vision, you want to be part of this larger group of people who are working towards this. So there may be some guilt there associated with an emotional attachment to the outcomes of what the task is, and you had to turn it down. But so ask ourselves what this guilt is coming from, and then also be honest in your explanation. So when you are declining, when you feel like you're making up an excuse or feel like you're being slightly dishonest, it adds to the guilt of it all. So perhaps you can just be honest. I just have priorities right now. I cannot work on it this month. I really would want to revisit this at a later time. I am really honored you asked, and be honest that you're honored. Okay, things like that. Time is a limited, non renewable resource and needs to be allocated like a budget. Well done. Yeah, and personally, have had to work on saying no correctly with my current employer. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, in the military, it's pretty structured. I understand, and it's easy. It's just automatic, reflexive to say yes. Thank you. And also, ultimately, we cannot please everyone all the time, and set realistic expectations for yourself and others so that you can alleviate that guilt. Okay, to start with, say we're going to only speak about this for the next 15 minutes. If you have any follow-up questions, let's go ahead and email each other about it, talk about it later at another time. Let's go ahead and do weekly meetings, 15 minutes each, whatever. But do it in a way that's realistic for everybody so nobody expects any more and nobody expects you to refrain from the schedule you've already set. Or if you need to change the schedule, then you let them know we might change it based on how some things go. But for now, we're going to use only 15 minutes to do this, okay? All right. Focus on those long-term goals and values by saying no to the distractions. Yeah, go ahead and imagine those positive impacts we spoke about earlier. The rest, the loved ones, giving some time to them, your hobbies. and we all will make mistakes in this. We've already said that we've had to reframe reframe some of the things we've said in the past. That learning to say no is definitely sometimes a gradual process. It's a new skill. It'll take a while, perhaps, or it's a skill that needs to be adjusted and based on circumstances. Okay, so at all times, remember that it is okay to learn it, practice it, and here are some resources to the how to nicely say no is has a 50 ways of saying no. Okay, so think about that. Rachel, they'll be able to click on the PowerPoint links, right, to take them to those resources.
Yes.
And then the power of saying no. What does that empower you to do? Things like that. So, all right, let me know. What did you all learn from here today that you'll either already doing or could now adjust given the circumstances on what you have maybe taken away from today? Do you feel like saying no is a form of self-care? Do you feel like it'll be a de-stressor? Like it, Jennifer. Okay, to lose the guilt of saying no. I love that. Saying no is self-care, Mary. Absolutely. Valencia, absolutely good. Saying no, yes, is a necessity. Love that. Mr. Hawk, Miss Hawk, I'm not sure, G. Hawkins. Saying no to things that do not align with where you're going allows you to focus more on the things that matter. Yes, Don, we all need the refresher, that's for certain. Like it. Yes, it's self-care. Is it selfish to say no? Ah, I like that, Christina. You don't feel alone in this. No, not selfish. Yes, learning to say no without the guilt. Not selfish. Love yourself. I love that. I say no all the time, but yeah, more often to myself or my family. I hope you now learn not to do it only to yourself, Christina, or your family. You can do it in all kinds of different contexts. You can still remain polite. You can maintain those relationships. You don't have to burn any bridges. In fact, I feel like the opposite party will respect us more if they know we're doing it in a way that's maintaining our own self-respect and boundaries. So well done. It is self-preservation. That is a great word, self-preservation. I love that. Oh, oh, wow. You are the most important person in your life, Chandra says. I love that. I like that, Joshua. Being vigilant about our own capacity and values is foundational, is doing well in life and work. This is great stuff. Thank you. Learning that other people, I like that, Olu. Thank you for acknowledging that we are not alone in this. We all struggle every day, especially in different contexts where we might have some emotional baggage. I hope you all feel like you can use that gauge earlier and learn to say no based on how bad we might feel, how bad the consequences might feel. So very, very good about learning to say no and using that gauge. But I'm glad to see that we have all felt less alone today. We have to care for ourselves so we can care better for others. I love that. Saying no to others, a yes to ourselves. I love it, Lindsay. Nice. Self-care to give care. It's not selfish. Reaffirming that one cannot please everyone. Nice. I love that. Reaffirming that one cannot please everyone, Jane. Very, very good. Should become a proverb that it's selfish to always expect a yes. Lillian, I love that. It is selfish to always expect a yes. It is selfish if somebody keeps taking you for granted. Empowering to say no. Yeah, if they're not busy, we need to let others do something. I know we need to delegate. We need to let others do things that you're being piled on to do. I love that. Communication is key, keeping those boundaries. It's not selfish to say no. Yes, know your limitations, establish those boundaries. I love that, Tasha. I have the right to say no. And I'll add to this, I don't have to be made to feel overwhelmed or guilty, Tasha. Add that to your saying. I love it. Love it. Self care is not selfish. I agree. For the most part, no is not saying no seems to impact those you say no. It is self care. Absolutely. No is understanding your strengths and weaknesses. It's very liberating. Thank you, Janet. We need sessions like this to remind us that making a positive impact stands eternally, not externally. I hope all of you organizers read that statement by Joshua. Positive impact starts internally, not externally. Unless it involves food, Frank says, then it's a no for me. Oh, I love this. Remember, you are not indispensable, and chances are that if you say no, the person will move on to someone else and ask them. Absolutely, we are not indispensable. That is a good word. It's a little bit humbling to know that, but absolutely certain. Something we might have to accept for sure. Yeah, find reasons to say yes instead of the other way around, but also the right reasons, or reasons that work for you, Christina. Okay. Show respect for the other people. Yes, I agree to self-care. Yeah, I actually do have a version of this where we learn to say yes, but then again, we will go back to ask people to think about why you're saying yes and what reasons you're saying yes. And remember, if makes you feel any of those gauge earlier, then saying yes may not necessarily be the best way to maintain work-life balance. I hope that makes sense, Lisa. Yeah, yeah. All right, everybody. Rachel has gone ahead and linked up these PowerPoint slides for you. Susan, it's typically how the recipient of no reacts that impacts people. Saying no if the person doesn't understand, no is a good thing for self-preservation. Well done. And it really, at the end of the day, I really love this saying is if you are a burned out bulb. You cannot light the way for others. If you say no, I mean, if you say yes too often to certain things that do burn you out, then we end up getting to a situation where we're not able to light the way for others. So well done. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to let Rachel take over for the closing slides.
All right. Hate to follow that, man. We're going to go ahead and close out since we're getting close to the top of the hour. Continue going ahead and putting comments in the chat. Dr. M is going to stay on as well. I know that there's a big thing here that a lot of y'all are looking for that continuing education or certificate of attendance. Please note for today's webinar, we are offering one CE credit from the following accrediting associations. So those of you that are financial counselors or patient advocates, case managers, disability management specialists, that's a new one for us, family life educators, certified health education specialists, family consumer sciences, those again that are personal finance educators or financial counselors. Those are CEs that are available, as well as social workers, excuse me, licensed professional counselors, licensed marriage and family therapists. And those of you that are in Michigan, um, Michigan certified teachers, we are offering one CE clock hour for you as well. And then for any of you that are just needing a certificate of attendance to provide to your supervisor, to show that you've attended this session, that certificate of attendance is available as well. You can find this CE, give it probably you might need to refresh your event page or give us a little bit of time, but I went ahead and posted the link to the event webinar um, page in that chat where you can find a copy of the slides. Also on that event page, you're going to see a section that's continuing education. That continuing education section of that web page will have this information that you currently see on your slide. And then there's going to be a purple button that appears. If it's not working right now, maybe give us just a couple of minutes to refresh the page, and we'll get that added, that CE link there. Please
Rachel,
note.
sorry to apologize. Your link to download the slides came to me in a direct message, so I don't think it went to everyone.
Oh, okay. I will
Yes.
add it. Thank you for that, Dr. M.
Also, someone asked if this will be offered again because she wants to mention it to her colleagues. I guess they can access the recording, correct?
There will be a recording, yes. So give us a second to get that recording. Normally, we say give us about 2 business days to get the recording up on the event page. The recording will be placed on the event page, which you can see in the chat. It should be working, everyone, now for you to see that event page. PowerPoint slides, CE credit. There's going to be a purple button that says Continue Education. That is where you get your CEs. Kathleen has also posted a direct link to the survey for CEs. So use that direct link. That'll take you less clicking around. So go ahead and go to that CE link that Kathleen has posted in the chat. You'll need to complete a survey. Once you complete that survey, you will then be taken to a page where you identify which CE or certificate of attendance option you're wanting. And then your certificates will all be sent via email to you. It's an automatically generated email. If for any reason you have any issues with getting your CEs or that certificate, I have popped in my email address in that chat. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I don't mind helping you and answering any questions as well. or if you have any additional questions for Dr. M after today's session, send me that and I can forward it on to her. But again, remember, today's webinar is recorded, so if you've missed anything or if you want to share this with your colleagues and peers, that will be available. All right, stay tuned next month. I know several of you are going to be interested about any Medicaid updates. We are going to be presenting on June 5th at 11 a.m. Eastern, focusing on Medicaid and military-connected families, so current trends and potential pathways for the future. Next month's session will be really important because I know there's lots of questions about Medicaid. So stay tuned. We're going to explore how Medicaid intersects with the lives of military-connected families. And it's going to highlight relevant services, key policy developments, and how Medicaid supports families across various phases of life. So register for that webinar. I'm going to go ahead and post that here as well. Probably overwhelming y'all with all the links in the chat. We're going to hold on. We're going to stay on the webinar for a little bit longer so you can gather any of those last minute links as well. And then also, in addition to marking your calendar for next month on Medicaid, mark your calendar for August through September. We're really excited. Our page now is up and ready. We're going to be hosting our yearly academy, our Military Family Readiness Academy. The academy is really an annual event to bring together military family service providers from multiple disciplines across a topic important to the military family readiness system. This year, we're going to be bringing together experts and professionals like yourselves to address key challenges facing military youth well-being. And over the course of 6 weeks, OneOp is going to deliver a series of professional development opportunities, including an expert panel discussion and 3 accompanying webinars. The panel is going to focus on how military service providers across the military family readiness system can support that well-being of military youth. And the webinars are really going to equip providers with evidence-based strategies to support adolescent well-being through transitions, creating inclusive programming, and strengthening protective factors for military-connected youth. So find out more about the Academy on our website. We're excited about that offering coming up. All right, so I'm gonna look through any last minute questions or comments, but as I go through the questions or comments, just continue to get connected with our OneOp, explore any upcoming events, articles, resources on oneop.org. We're gonna stay on for a couple of minutes to gather any last minute resources in that chat. I'm also gonna be looking for any questions that folks may have as it relates to surveys, CEs. Um, and so if you
Rachel,
need
a
to hop off,
question
that's
was
fine.
one of the questions was this webinar category 1 or category 2 for CHES?
That I do not know. It is 1 CE credit hour for CHES. It looks like a few folks have said category 1.
And Kathleen has included the email for that. So
So when it refers to your CE credit in your certificates that's automatically generated and emailed to you, you will need to be the one responsible. You, the provider, needs to be responsible to sending it to your accrediting association. So we are providing the free CE. It will be up to you to send that CE certificate because each certificate, depending on your accrediting association, will have a specific number associated with it. You will need to be responsible for sending that to your accrediting association.